is up, everyone? Thank you so much for watching another fine episode of Moral Dilemma.
Good job.
Gosh, we're so lame. But it's fine. I'm Ryan.
I'm Logan.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Daniel.
Wait, what?
Dan?
Where's Corey at?
Yeah, so we have our first ever guest on the show.
Woo!
And we're so excited.
Sounds like a back.
Hopefully he doesn't screw this up or get us arrested. Because I think it's a possibility. But for all of the big Corey fans out there, I know hashtag Team Corey's trending pretty hard right now on Twitter. Corey is on vacation. And, oh, do you guys hear that? It's the wedding bells.
Oh,
Corey, my little guy, got engaged. So let's give him a round of applause, but not us because it might peak. So let's pause for a moment of applause.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you guys for applauding. But yes, we have a special Dan. His name is Guest. Apparently, was injured shortly out of the womb, I guess.
Oh man.
But yeah, we're excited to do this. So a lot of people are asking, who the heck is Dan?
I don't know.
Dan Norman. And man, there's a lot to unpack from that question. I think for me and Logan, since we kind of were thrown into the Dan friendship, it's not really asking for it.
No, not at all. It just happened.
You were grandfathered in.
Yeah, we definitely were. So for me and Logan, I think we just started hanging out with Dan. We used to go to Eric's house a lot, Adam's house, and Dan would just show up and we're like, who the heck's this guy? And we found out he's kind of a cool guy.
well, actually, he was there before you guys would actually start.
Yeah.
Okay,
He
true.
didn't just show up randomly.
Okay, true. I need to give him the credit.
Hello, weary traveler.
Yeah. First one in, first one to leave. Actually,
But
last one to leave.
I think Eric knows Dan a lot.
Oh yeah, I know his whole family. We've actually, done a lot of ministry together. Him and his family and his former church. We used to do a lot of retreats together. And actually, Dan was one of the first people I had lead praise and worship at my at Calvary.
Oh, yeah.
For music.
youth
And he did a lot of that, and he got paid jack squat.
I was about to say the budget was pretty
Oh,
low
he
that
was
year.
getting paid though?
No,
Yeah.
he wasn't getting paid at all. It was more just love. Like,
Yeah.
thank you. You're a great guy.
Yeah.
Man, I've seen Dan do praise and worship pretty much forever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Long
I
time.
saw you as the praise and worship guy way before I knew you as like the Dan.
That's the weird guy.
Yeah.
I saw him as the cool guy.
Yeah. Well, got to be known for
But
something.
it's really neat. I've seen him and his brothers grow up in the Lord, and it's really cool to see how they've grown. And yeah, I owe him a lot of free meals, really, because of all the things he's done.
Wow.
We've done a lot of things together
Yeah.
that's been really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been really neat to see him, and he's got a great dad.
Shout out
it's
to Dan's dad.
Yeah. Thanks.
Bob.
Thanks, Dad.
Is his name Danny?
No.
Dang it.
It's Bob.
Oh,
Yeah.
of course it is.
Cool. But yeah, there's also a lot of, I think we all have really good Dan stories. But Dan, how about you introduce yourself? Who the heck are you? I think everyone needs to know that.
Well, my name's Daniel Norman from Little Hocking, Ohio.
Yeah. So also a teacher at Warren.
Yeah, I teach at Warren Middle School. Go to Calvary Memorial. The preteen leader there. I also play electric guitar and stuff in the praise band.
And for Skillet.
Yeah. I'm living Little Hocking. Yeah, so
Wow.
got 3 young kids, and that's about what I do all
He's
the time.
also one of the most knowledgeable people I know in movies and stuff like that, which is pretty much
Just
why he's
random
here.
trivia.
That's what
random
I was
trivia.
saying. Random
Yeah.
trivia is like his specialty.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, you're the perfect guest for this type of show, though, because we're about to unwrap some things that I'm sure you have a lot of experience in.
Yeah. So we might kick Corey off for Dan,
Yeah.
which, sorry, Corey, I'm sure you're listening to this.
You'll make him cry.
But, Eric, why don't you go ahead and
share my
you
damn
guys should
moment.
share Dan's story.
Okay, well,
Dan obviously
I'm
can
gonna
chip
share.
in.
I'm gonna share one, and then I'm gonna let Dan kind of. Me and him will work on the story
Yeah,
together
yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm gonna let him share the Wendy's story. But there's a Trump's. There's a story about a tree and a stump. Okay?
Ah.
Oh, it's a
So
parable.
there was a yeah.
Okay, Jesus.
So at my house, there was a tree that fell over, knocked out power lines. The power company came through and cut down the tree, got it out of the way, repaired the lines. But there was this huge stump that was stuck out in the middle of the road almost, and it was off to the side. It was on my property. So I asked Dan, and Dan, being a faithful friend, he comes over and he tries to help me out. Well, I have this. Remember the story of the dollar truck I got?
Yeah.
So I have this dollar truck, and I'm just too cheap to buy tires for it. So it's bald tires, and we have this rinky-dink chain that we're trying to put around the stump. And Dan's really, we're trying to muscle it out. I'm trying to pull it up the hill with the truck, and it was just a nightmare. So
these kind of stories never end well.
No. There was some things that happened with that. Do you want to share a few things?
Yeah. Well, so I brought a chainsaw and we cut the heck out of that tree stump. And when I say tree stump, I mean I couldn't pick it up. It was probably 500-600 pounds.
It wasn't your average tree stump.
It's probably someone else's family tree.
Yeah. And when Eric says that his tires were bald, that's kind of an understatement. These things were more like slicks for drag cars. And he was barking those things up the hill trying to pull this tree log.
I was smoking.
Oh, they were just slipping everywhere.
2 lifesavers for tires in the back.
Yeah,
they were bad. So I think we finally got the stump off to the side or something.
Yeah.
We finally was like, heck with it, just leave it.
Yeah.
But I know I split my pants, which I split a pair of pants about every couple months anyways, but I split a pair, and I still remember Eric was like, I'm going to buy you a new pair of pants. I was like, dude, don't worry about
he's still waiting for this.
You're going to buy a new pair of bridges.
Oh, so did you fall through with that yet?
No.
Maybe after this episode.
Yeah, I need to go buy a
Well,
pair
Dan, look under your seat. Hey, we got you a new pair of bridges.
pair of Zubas. These guys.
They're actually Jinko jeans.
Oh,
Bring those back.
I can put them on one leg.
I was an advocate for the bell bottoms, but we turned that one down.
So the other story is a Wendy's story.
Gotta love a good Wendy's story.
I'm gonna let Dan just take the story over. So let him share this.
All right, so for you guys, like Eric and I, like hanging out on Wednesday nights and Sunday nights. I mean, that goes way back.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking
years.
like 15 years ago or so. And I was in college mostly, and it was like every Sunday night, every Wednesday night. And I go to Eric's house. If I didn't fall asleep on the couch, then I just leave and go to college. I go to college the next morning at OU or whatever. But we got into this habit of going to Wendy's on the South Side a lot after church. And we went there one night. And it's so stinking funny. So what you have to understand is that Eric's old enough to know better, and so am I. Because I'm like 23, 24 or something probably.
At the time.
Yeah. And so I got in line and I ordered, I don't know what I ordered, but I got a baked potato with it. I just remember getting a baked potato.
Never heard this before.
And Eric comes up right behind me and orders. And he's like, yeah, I'd like a #1 whatever, and I'll take a baked potato too. And the lady turns around and looks at the drawer, says something to the manager, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, sir, there's no more baked potatoes. And without missing a beat, he slammed his hand on the counter as loud as he could. And he goes, this is unacceptable. And the lady, this girl, she's probably like 18 years old. She just looked at him. I'm on the side laughing my head off. And I stuck my hand out and I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. He's joking. He's joking. He doesn't mean that. He's not really mad.
What kind of potatoes are you buying? Are these like golden potatoes?
Well, I was
That
just
was
upset. He just got the
hysterical.
last. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
It just came to my mind real quick. I'm just gonna make a big deal
Oh,
about it.
it was so
I have
funny.
heard Eric scream in dramas and stuff for youth. If he screamed like that in a Wendy's in a public
oh,
place,
it was so funny.
I could demonstrate
Yeah, I
it
didn't
for
want
you,
to-
but I don't want to hit the table here and knock every mic off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just emphatic. I was just serious about it. I was just angry looking.
Yeah.
I mean,
man,
if you
that's
don't
so
know
funny.
Eric, that would be terrifying if you didn't know him. Just your presence in general and your voice. I mean, you can hear from your laugh. I mean, your scream is probably just.
well, I mean, first of all, seeing Dan and Eric together walk into a Wendy's, that's scary on its own.
it's like 2 part-time bouncers walking.
I think that was one of the few times I totally threw Dan off.
Yeah,
it was just totally unexpected.
Yeah.
he did not see that coming at all.
Yeah, and I laughed. I probably shouldn't have. It was just really funny. It was funny.
It was worth it.
Well, actually, Eric, I think you have a chance to redeem yourself. Okay, bring her in.
Yeah, she's still.
Do you
in
have my
counseling.
potato?
This is Julie from Wendy's. Ever since that accident, she has been through therapy, and she's here to confront you.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I've also heard a
gosh.
lot of crazy stories from our sound guy, Adam, about you, because you guys grew up together, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for the most part.
That's where it started. That's where the Dan tree
Yeah.
has its roots.
Some,
is with Adam.
yeah, and some of his stories we
you-
can't share on.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
I was gonna say, do you have any wrestling? I know you guys did the
Oh
big
my
wrestling.
gosh.
You guys would actually make your own wrestling.
Yeah, we used to
talk about
like
that.
set up in his dad's bow shop and pretend to wrestle, and we had characters, we had lights and music, and I'd be like an announcer, and I'd announce a match, and then I'd run around and come out and like wrestle for my character, and yeah, but that was just fun. Yeah, there was more than 2 people.
Who was your character?
A posse.
I was Hulk Hogan. That was my character because we were like real deal people.
Yeah.
Well,
Sweet.
I remember a retreat you guys did part of the talent show.
Yeah, we did.
And you guys actually did like a little wrestling spoof at a talent show at a retreat.
Yeah, we
Really?
did the rest of
And you were called Stormin
Yeah,
Norman.
yeah.
That was your kind of your name. Did you-
Yeah, and I had tearaway pants that year.
Oh yeah.
They were like
These weren't the
blue-
pants that ripped. These were the pants
Yeah,
that actually
yeah.
tear away.
They were blue with orange stripes and buttoned up the side, and I did this whole big old thing, and I like grabbed them and ripped them off, and I think I scared.
Yeah.
And
I-
both
yeah.
pairs came off.
I think there was a spotlight and everything.
Oh, yeah.
it was
Scared all the
pretty
kids.
legit.
Yeah, it was the
That's
theatrics. You gotta go big or go home, I guess.
I have a little sub story off of that. It's real fast. I remember watching the first time I ever watched one of these recorded clips was at the sound guy Adam's house. And I
out
remember
sound guy.
just like it was one of those tapes like it just played right wherever you left it
Oh,
off
yeah.
last. So like I just remember it flashed blue a few times, it turns on, and I just see someone take a metal chair straight to the back. Like I had none of this introduction. Dan's like, yeah, we did a little wrestling back in the day, and this little tape just flashes on, and I see this full-on WWE chair take down. I was like, man, he wasn't joking. Oh
Yeah.
man.
That was like big time during your guys' time frame. When it, like I know my youth group that we had like NWO.
Oh yeah,
or
yeah.
something like that. It was
Yeah.
New
World Order.
it was New Christian Order
Oh,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
So the NWO
that would be
was actually
NCO.
that was actually wrestling.
Yeah, that was wrestling.
There was a Triple C and then there was something else. I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
remember.
yeah.
The Worldwide Christian. Somebody's going to correct me on this.
Yeah,
but-
because like the late '90s and early 2000s, if you didn't watch wrestling and talk about wrestling, and you were a guy, I mean, you were probably like sewing curtains or something. Because, like everyone talked about wrestling.
I think it's funny that the only option is out
Yeah.
there. You're
Yeah.
doing curtains.
I mean, not the sewing curtains. I know how to sew anyway, so everyone should know how to sew. The military,
One of those facts is a well-known pastor in the area. We won't say names.
yeah. I mean, you talked about wrestling. You just
That's awesome.
Ryan, do you have a dance story?
Oh man, I feel like every time I've hung out with Dan, something has gone down. And but one of my favorites, I think this was one of the first times we hung out. I think it was probably back when I was in high school. We just went and saw a movie. I can't remember what movie it was, but it was at the mall, and I think I was late to come out for some reason. But on my way out, Dan decides to hide behind this corner.
Oh, that was
yeah,
perfect.
that
I was there
funny.
for that.
That was funny.
And
Give it a little bit more detail on where he was hiding.
Yeah. So you like walk out and there's like these like bushes right beside the exit or entrance or whatever. And Dan gets in behind him. He squeezes his way there. And I come out, not knowing what's going on, and Eric, his accomplice at the time, was like, "Oh my gosh, there's a dog over there!" And Dan comes out barking like a dog, and it scared the crap out of me. But here's the thing: is that I didn't know Dan super well at the time, so I'm just
So he
here
was
hanging
a
out.
creepy old guy.
Yeah. I just have this hanging out with this guy I don't really know, and then all of a sudden he's barking at me. But yeah,
That's-
and that honestly scared me so bad.
Yeah, it's a lot better than a heresy movie that you like so much.
All right. First of all, Eric, you have literally gotten the name of the movie wrong every single time. It's
on
Hereditary.
purpose. It's on purpose. It's on purpose.
Heresy. But yeah, that's my Dan story.
Oh gosh.
There was also a good story. We went catfishing one time.
Oh yeah.
I think this is the only time we ever went catfishing, and it was a few of us. And man, we fished for so long, didn't catch anything. And we're just hanging out talking. We still had a good time. We threw some Old Spice cans in the fire.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, Dan gets this huge fish that we think. And he starts reeling. He's like, "Got one, I got one." And everyone gets their phones out, and he reels it in. It's a small little turtle. And it's like not even a cool turtle. It's like one of those soft shell turtles. And I think he hooked it on accident.
Yeah.
So I thought that was funny. But yeah, a lot of good Dan stories. You got one,
sure.
Logan?
Yeah, we got a lot of movie theater stories just because like this gang here on the podcast, there for a while. I mean, we still do it, but every Sunday night for the longest time, we'd go see a movie, go Taco Bell. So a lot of these happen in movie theaters. One that came to my mind really fast was I forget what movie we're seeing, but it's the same group, and I remember Dan sat down in the seat in front of Adam and I, sound guy Adam, and I didn't really think anything of it. There was just anyway. Well, Adam saw the opportunity to slip the wallet out of Dan's pocket, like it was one of those
I
things.
got a Taco Bell before the movie.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, he got it out of
that is
pocket,
right.
yeah.
Anyway, same scenario, but Adam found this certain time to steal Dan's wallet, and he just snuck it out and looked at me, and we were both just shook that he got it, like it was in your jean pocket or whatever. And later that evening, we went to the movies. Yeah, that's right. I got this together now.
Jeez.
And we're sitting in the movie, and Adam and I aren't thinking of anything much, and I think you went to go get candy or something like that. Bathroom. And meanwhile, Dan was like looking around for his wallet in the theater.
Here's my phone. He stole my phone.
Okay.
It was in my side cargo pocket. Like when it
Yeah,
sticks out.
Yeah,
like that.
okay. So anyway, it all still adds up. It was his phone. So Dan is looking around for his phone, and apparently Adam and I both weren't there to see you like looking around for it or something like that, right?
Oh yeah.
And-
I was out at the car. And
Yeah, and
everything,
he took off.
Leeson's-
He took off for the car and was getting ready to drive back to Taco Bell. I think.
Yeah.
He's getting ready to drive back to Taco Bell because he could not find his phone. Well, Adam and I aren't just being jerks. We literally didn't know that Dan was like looking for this. Like we were just like, this has gone way too far.
Like you didn't think he was going to look for it? Or-
Well, we didn't. We forgot we took it. Like Adam completely forgot that he swiped his phone. Like
that's why the Bible teaches not to steal.
Yeah, well, we learned our lesson. Anyway, well, a few minutes later, man, you're gonna have to help me out with this last part. But it turns out Dan found out that like Adam had the phone.
I chased him down out of the movie
Yeah.
theater.
I was at the counter at the theater asking if somebody had turned in a phone like a moron.
Yeah.
And here he comes across the theater, and I just yelled as loud as I could. I was like, "I'm gonna kill you" or something like that, right in the middle of the theater,
Yeah.
which I probably shouldn't have yelled that.
And I remember this. My perspective is I was still in the theater, and I just hear like this hurting down the hallway. Like it was that quiet part in the previews, like nothing's really happened. Lights are still on. And I just hear this absolute massacre down the hallway. And I just see Dan and Adam running in the theater, and then shortly after, Dan's just barreling after Adam for his phone. Oh my goodness.
Oh man.
That one was a good one. There's
That's
so
funny.
many more.
Actually, I do have one more. Is it okay to share about the movie me and you went to see?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You want to talk about that? You
No,
want to
go
share?
ahead.
No,
Go
you
ahead.
share
I'll
the
chime
story.
in.
You know what I mean? The one that we had that little friend that
Oh
visited
yeah,
us
yeah,
and
yeah,
sat
yeah,
next
yeah,
to us.
yeah. Yeah, Eric and I went and watched Gran Torino with Clint Eastwood.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
And this was several years ago. And this dude comes in, like one of these guys who, like, I guess he thinks that you're like, I guess we were all people, so he thought we were friends or something.
Oh,
and
no.
he like sits. It's like me, Eric, and then this dude sits right beside us, like 1, 2, 3. You know what I mean? It's like we don't know you, whatever. And of course, Eric's sitting there with his PSP playing PSP before the
That
movie. You know.
Oh no.
And I'm just complaining about the advertisements and stuff, like
like a normal guy.
Yeah. And this dude just keeps talking about this movie. Well, a group of other people come in that let's say were spent more time out in the sun than what I typically would. And this guy leans over and he's like, "Oh, this is going to be good." And I'm thinking, like, we have to get out of here.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah, it's like I don't want to
you
be
know,
associated with this guy.
Yeah, because
This guy's making comments that I don't
Yeah.
feel comfortable with. He's not part of my family tree.
Yeah, because this movie is
Like
about,
I wanted to sign it, just said I'm not with this
Yeah.
guy.
the movie's about this guy who was in the war and had these racial tendencies, but meets this kid and realizes that he's wrong and
Yeah.
develops
Yeah.
this bond with this kid, and then this dude's like, "This is gonna be great," and I'm, oh no,
Yeah. Oh, big oh no.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was just a scary thing because it was like,
yeah,
why do I have to sit next to this guy that seems like, I don't know, he seems like my friend and
Yeah.
I'm not friends with him. I was like scared of what he was going to say
Did
next.
you guys leave him?
No,
No.
we were kind of
we're kind of
caught.
kind
He's sitting
trapped.
and the theater is kind of full, right?
yeah,
It's-
yeah, yeah.
And it turned out to be Adam, the sound guy.
And that's
And
how
he's
they
still with
became
us,
friends.
and no one wants him to be here. That's funny.
Oh man.
But yeah, good
Yeah, it
times
was
with
a little
Dan.
awkward.
But yeah, now we're gonna switch gears, and one of my favorite things about going to the movies is every once in a while you get one of those movies that you go to, and you're not expecting much, and you come out and it was just a banger. It was so good. It's happened to me a lot. So we're gonna talk about some of our favorite surprise movies. So you want to kick us off, Eric?
Sure. Mine is actually what had happened was I had no idea about this movie. I had no knowledge of it. Never saw a trailer.
I think I know this one.
And one of my former teens, Jeremy Prine,
It's Passion of Christ.
said, "Hey, I want you to go check this movie out." He didn't tell me anything beforehand. Didn't give me any information. And it was probably one of the greatest things I've ever had a teenager do for me.
Oh wow.
Because he didn't spoil it at all. I mean, just he wanted me to go see it.
But
and
he
I
had
was
already
like,
seen it.
No, I don't think.
Oh.
I don't know. Maybe he did. I'll have to ask.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I go and I watch this movie and I'm just like, whoa. I mean, it was just so cool because like I think trailers a lot of times. I think we could probably talk about trailers
Yeah.
and how sometimes trailers really ruin a movie.
I mean, I brought up Invisible Man last podcast, and that's the whole reason why I didn't like the movie. Is
Yeah.
because the trailer
Yeah.
butchered the movie.
So sometimes trailers can either give you a lot of too much information about a
TMI,
movie, or it kind of ruins the movie. Or
Did you say what movie it was when you were talking about that?
no, I haven't talked
Oh,
about
okay.
it. I haven't
Okay.
said it.
All right.
What, do you want to guess?
No, it's a
Oh,
build-up.
I know what it is.
You know what? You've heard the story.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was Matrix.
Oh yes, The Matrix. The Matrix. Wow, what a just a wonderful movie that I had no previous knowledge
Yeah.
in. So that was the thing for me. I don't know what you guys will share about your surprise movie.
Yeah.
Just not having any knowledge and then walking
Uh-huh.
into the theater and just enjoying a film at its entirety without having any pre-knowledge about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was just kind of a shock. It was really cool. I do think a lot of times trailers do ruin movies because we already have a glimpse of what it's going to be like. But me going in not knowing anything, it was just like, this
Yeah.
is incredible. Now
Exactly.
unfortunately, they ruined it as they kept making movies.
Yeah.
So was that movie during the time, was that like kind of like a movie that people were looking forward to? Or did that just kind of come out of nowhere?
It came out of nowhere.
Really?
I think it.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't hear anything about it, and then it really took off as it was released, right?
Yeah, and I mean, when Matrix came out, you're just like, what? Matrix? What's this? I've done Matrix and calculus, but what is it about? You know what I mean? Like,
Matrix.
and it's, spoiler alert, it's not a math movie. But no, when it came out, I mean, it totally changed. I mean,
Yeah.
the 3-dimensional shot, it totally changed
Oh, yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
I mean, the Matrix backbend thing has been parodied probably 1,000 times in movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of groundbreaking things that he did in the film, but just the concept, just the story, just the.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole.
I couldn't even
aspect of it.
imagine coming up with the concept of that movie because that was kind of like the first ever like movie that established like the glitch in the Matrix thing, right?
Yeah.
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 That's crazy that someone came up with that and was able to make such a good movie out of that.
Eric,
Yeah.
I think you're so lucky that you had that experience because from my perspective of the Matrix, I also love the Matrix, but
You had somebody ruin it for you, didn't
Oh,
you?
not
I
really.
didn't do the same thing.
Kinda like Hereditary?
Jeremy did for me.
No, I did
returned
not
the
have the same experience. So I watched The Matrix at the Eric Gleason's house, and let's just say I didn't understand anything. But of course, you watch a movie that everyone is super passionate about, and for the first time, there tends to be a lot of filler talking along with like pointing out, oh, this means this here in like 20 seconds. And you're like, oh, well, crap. But no, it was actually a good
Well, and
experience.
I think
but
that.
Well,
I
Eric
think
threw
I
in
actually-
a Bible reference every 15
Yeah.
minutes and would
Like
pause
every
it.
20 minutes, I'd pause it just to be funny. But I was actually talking about spiritual aspects about the film and how that relates. and-
while I'm trying to understand the movie, but then he starts throwing these riddles or whatever he's got at me.
yeah, that was my bad. I apologize.
No, it's
for that,
fine.
but-
I still really like.
I owe Dan a pair of pants, and I owe you a new movie.
And me,
Sorry.
apparently.
Oh, okay.
Hereditary. I still want to see that with
No,
you.
that's just a bad movie. I don't apologize for anything.
Oh man, Logan, you got one?
Oh yeah, I got one. This is very recent. I've mentioned it in
Oh.
the podcast, but I haven't really elaborated on it. I've recently done some work in my room and have gotten this like little theater vibe setup going on. Good
Sweet
sound
flex.
bar and like subwoofer in there, and so I've been really watching a lot of movies at home, which was perfect time with all the virus stuff going around. But I watched this movie I planned on just doing some biology homework that I'm doing. I have like an online class and just watching a movie that I had nothing. I just found a movie on Netflix. I was like, I'll just play this. It'll be a good background while I'm doing this. I didn't even have. I was barely watching it when I first turned it on. It's called Nezha, Nezha. I don't think I'm pronouncing it right, honestly, but yeah, it's Nezha.
It's like an anime, right?
It's an animated movie, yes, and I cannot believe how great that movie was. It's very family friendly. Just the overarching theme of it, like I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's pretty much talks about there's the spirit and demon kind of vibe in it, and the spirit aspect gets in the hands of the demons, and the demons get a hand of the spirit. So it's kind of like evil in the hands of good and good in the hands of evil. And you see how if you're genuinely good, an evil thing can become good also. It's kind of like the theme of it. And I think it has so many, like, I use this word a lot, Christian motifs in it. Like almost like you have this evil thing in your possession that's very powerful, that is kind of like rampaging in your midst and stuff, but you can entice it over to the good side and make it for the good. And the evil thing essentially can become good if it's, well trained and proper and nourished. Mm-hmm. And that movie got the coolest battle scene. This is kind of weird to mention on the podcast, but it gives off, like, everyone's seen Frozen, hopefully, but the graphics on Frozen are actually kind of insane. If you really pay attention to it, this Nezha movie has got insane graphics. Like just the animations and the fight scenes in it. It's just the stereotypical good and evil fighting style. It's awesome. It's family friendly. Anyone can watch it. It is awesome. That's cool.
Well, I think what you shared was something that we probably should talk about down the road at some point. I know we keep saying it with some things, but to me, there is an element that you need to have evil, good, like the Matrix, like most movies, like Star Wars. To make a really good story, you have to have good and evil. And I think spiritually, it speaks to a bigger truth, that there is this spiritual side of things that's a secret, it's not really a secret. It's kind of like audio drilling, I've got a secret. Yeah. But the idea is that there's this underlying truth that sometimes people miss and they don't realize. Yeah. But there is this constant struggle between good and evil. So I think that's...
Yeah, well, the fact that if you can find, like Logan was talking, it's like an allegory. If you can find that idea in everything, then it has to be some truth to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's my point. Yeah.
And it's like things, like the things that are happening in the natural world, like the way I look at them, like there's a lot of people talk about this, but to me, the things that even like now what's happening in the world, if it's happening in the natural world, it reflects the supernatural world. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it's happening there too. Yep.
That's crazy.
So it's kind of neat to think about.
Well, there's a reason why we're driven to those stories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why those stories speak for us and why we're gravitated to them.
Yeah. That's cool. Dan, you want to go next?
Yeah, man. So just not to give info on me, but the whole one thing, you pick your best, pick your favorite. Yeah. I can't do that.
Same, dude.
My OCD doesn't let me. I have to categorize it. So I have 5.
Yeah.
No,
but I hate to share them all. Sorry.
Dude, no, go for it.
Okay, so just let me throw these out really, really quick. So the first few are, the way I took it, these were movies that got horrible reviews.
Yeah.
Like less than 60%. But so number 1, National Treasure.
Oh,
horrible reviews.
What a good movie.
But
You got a fist bump from the sound guy on that one.
National Treasure is the Indiana Jones to anybody that's 25 and under.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It really re-sparked that one. The next one, 56%, right? Which sounds horrible. Con Air.
I agree with that.
No, see, I think Con Air is a great movie. Let me tell you why people don't like Con Air, okay? Okay, this is why people don't like Con Air. It's because Nicolas Cage won an Oscar the year before for Leaving Las Vegas or whatever, for that romantic comedy. And he released Con Air and Face Off in the same month. Same year, same month.
Now, did you liked Face Off?
I like Face Off.
I like Face Off.
So
I
wait,
like that too.
So
way better than Face On.
Con Air starred Nicolas Cage, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm never
and
seen
Steve
Con Air.
Buscemi.
Oh, okay.
He's like this Hannibal Lecter kind of character.
It wasn't bad, but basically it was like a plane fight for the control of the plane.
But so for me, I thought that was a good movie.
It was a decent movie. It's probably better than the 50%.
Yeah.
56%.
Another horrible movie that people thought was horrible, but I thought was fantastic. Shooter. with Mark
Okay.
Wahlberg.
I like that one.
We
I thought
watched that
was-
at-
What
See,
rating did it
that's-
have?
It was 50-some%.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, Denzel Washington, Book of Eli.
oh,
Horrible.
man.
Really? It got
Horrible
terrible
way.
ratings.
I
I
did
love
not
that.
know
Horrible
that.
ratings.
Yeah,
Horrible
I thought
ratings.
it was great.
But
I don't see how that
Like,
got
I don't-
that's
ratings
such a
at all.
huge story. That's like Book of Eli could be made into a 5-season miniseries or something
Yeah.
like that
And I don't-
easily.
I don't want to ruin the movie, but that whole concept
Oh,
that
man.
you didn't realize what
Yeah.
was really going on until
Oh,
the
that's
end of the
insane.
movie.
And then
Yeah.
that's the kind of movie you can watch again
Yes.
with completely different
Yeah.
eyes because like
Yeah.
oh
'Cause
it's,
you can go
it's-
back and
yeah,
look at everything.
exactly
It's
yeah
kind of like a Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's one of the movies where like you want to watch it with people. Like I like
Oh,
watching
yeah.
movies with people who've never seen it before,
Yeah.
just to see their reaction.
I actually think
I
I might
had
have
that-
watched Book of Eli with you
Probably
guys
with
there,
us,
so,
I
yeah.
think so, probably.
I had that same that watching movies with people. The movie The Prestige is a great movie to watch.
Oh,
with people
yeah.
who have no
Yeah,
idea
yeah,
what's
yeah,
going
yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah.
Because the whole time you know exactly what's going on, and that twist at the end is
Yeah.
just it's great to see reactions on that
So
one.
that was a pretty good list. I just disagree with you on Connor.
But like
always Eric coming in with the
Yeah.
the negative.
That's okay. And I got one more, my last one, my
Oh.
clencher. Okay.
Oh, come on, hit
So
us with it.
here's my clencher. So here's my one that like when I first saw it, like going back to the trailer, I had a perception of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, it seems kind of too goofy to me. But then I watched them. It was Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Oh, I love
when
that
I
movie
first
so much.
when I first saw it, I was like, this movie's awesome. Like just the way it was filmed, the way it was shot.
the music in that
Oh,
movie
it
is
just was so cool.
it's so different. Like
Yeah.
Ryan showed me Scott
I've seen it
Pilgrim.
like 7 times.
He watched it with
Yeah.
me.
Oh, it's great.
And that music vibe that it has in it is just like I've never heard anything like that before.
Yeah.
That movie almost made a music genre.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, it made a whole like subgenre. Like I read that like after that movie came out, a bunch of kids and teens were starting to dress like Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah,
and start
yeah.
to like get into that kind of
Like
yeah.
honestly, probably in like 20, 25 years, it'll become a cult classic
Oh,
movie
for sure.
if it's not already.
yeah.
I would say
Yeah.
it probably is.
I mean, because it's
Probably.
it's
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, Edgar Wright makes
Yeah.
some of the best movies of all time.
Mhm.
I mean,
What are some other ones? Throw some other ones out
he did Baby Driver.
there. Okay,
Yeah, that
Baby
was pretty-
Driver's
That was a great movie.
Baby Driver's
was
on my
good.
top 5 on Letterboxd.
What else did he do? I'm gonna look it up on
have to look it up.
Letterboxd.
Yeah, you threw
Sponsor
me.
us. I know that I own a lot of Edgar Wright movies.
Yeah,
but I
because you've
can't
been
remember
working
what
on
they
your
are.
old Blu-ray collection.
Yeah,
But
we
yeah.
could also
See,
talk about.
if we could continue on.
Oh yeah, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh, my
yeah,
goodness.
yeah,
All
yeah.
of
Okay.
yeah. Man,
Those movies
Shaun
are
of the
fantastic.
Dead too.
Fantastic.
I saw that at Adam's Sound Guy's house the first time, and I bought it. recently.
Hot
Did you
Fuzz.
watch Hot Fuzz?
Hot Fuzz is
Yeah.
amazing.
All of those. Also, another good
World's
one
End
is
too, or
World's End.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Was it good?
That surprised
Nah.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, it's okay, but
It's
it's
not
not,
as good
like
as
them.
Yeah.
It's because
I've
it's
seen the other
it's
two, but
because
I haven't
Hot
seen
Fuzz and Shaun that it had such high set the bar so
Yeah.
high. You know.
Well, the and once again, the writing and the dialogue. If you listen to the way they're talking to each other and stuff,
Yeah.
it's hysterical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the puns, like the funny things that they're saying that's
Yep.
happening in the background.
Mhm.
But some people don't get it; it goes over their head.
Now,
Yeah.
since Dan got to add an extra movie.
Sorry, man.
5,
Sorry.
actually.
Sorry, man. I just wanted to.
Can I add another movie?
No.
Have you guys ever seen a movie called Memento?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
a
love that
great
movie.
movie.
Yeah.
I think this is. I don't think I have.
Oh,
Yeah.
you haven't? It's
No.
good. It's really good.
Yeah, it's
You should
good.
check it
That's a
out.
mind
Maybe I'll
bender,
check it
though.
out.
It's so good though.
You watch Nezha and I'll watch my
Deal.
Mentos.
Hey, we
Yes.
can watch one of those tonight.
Yeah, I'd be down with that.
All right.
Is that on Netflix? Or?
Probably. We can find it somewhere.
All right.
Yeah. So mine.
Oh, we got to talk about yours.
I
now?
All right.
forgot
Yeah.
about
All right. Next topic.
Jeez.
I thought you went first.
So mine.
Peter Pan.
I wasn't necessarily. So mine was the Winnie the Pooh movie, March of the Penguins. Actually,
Sweet.
blew my mind. No,
Penguin.
mine was
Penguin.
it's a movie called Unsane. It's by Steven Soderbergh, who did Ocean's 11 and stuff. But this is back in the movie pass days, where I was literally just seeing pretty much anything.
Have we talked about that?
What movie pass?
Yeah.
No, we need to.
No,
we'll
but
have
we
a discussion
can.
about
That's
that.
a whole topic. That's a
And,
whole
and we can
topic.
talk about how the people in this room drove that company to the ground.
We single-handedly
I
destroyed
think
a
you
company.
guys ruined it. I just helped you.
You enforced us.
Yeah, man, those were the days.
I
though.
encouraged you, and I should
Yeah.
have.
That was crazy.
But
Keep
yeah,
going anyway.
we were seeing all these movies pretty much for free, and this one came out. Me and my friend Jake, who we saw probably in 1 year, probably 50 movies with Movie Pass. So it's called Unsane. It's like it's kind of a typical story, and I mean to be honest, it's not a great movie, and I I'll stand by that. But I was super surprised coming out of it. It's just a standard story about like I think this woman gets like accused of being like mentally insane and goes to an insane asylum and has to escape or something. And after the movie, I really liked it. After the movie, though, I did some research and found out that the entire thing was filmed on an iPhone.
Oh, really?
What?
Wow.
And you would have never known. And
Well, that's the amazing thing with technology.
I
today.
know.
It's really
An
advanced.
iPhone?
yeah,
What
an
year
iPhone.
was this movie
Yeah,
made?
Probably 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
probably
That makes
iPhone
that
8 or
that makes
Yeah.
a little. If
But,
this is like
I
2007,
mean, it looked great, and I mean, I think that's why when I left, I kind of had mixed feelings about it because I just knew like something was off, but which fit the movie because it's about a woman losing her sanity, and now.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
I've rewatched it, and I just think it's a great movie. I mean, it's
I got a
nothing
lot to watch.
plot wise, it's nothing crazy, but like the fact that he filmed that with an iPhone. But that's a director I really like, Steven Soderbergh, because he likes to do kind of gimmicky things. He did one with an iPhone, but my favorite one is a movie called Bubble, which he filmed.
Isn't that a local
Underwater.
Yeah, underwater, but he filmed it with random people, just on like that he met on the street, and he filmed it in Belpre, Ohio,
Oh,
which is
yeah,
where we
yeah,
live
yeah.
in the Middleton Doll Factory. I mean, it's not a great movie.
Creepy.
Yeah,
Before
but,
the dogs moved in.
but it's cool that because
It's a
I
dog-
watched an
it's a
interview.
dog
He
pound
met
now.
someone at Kroger, like a cashier at Kroger, and he was like, "Hey, would you like to play a character in this movie I'm working on? I'm a director here." And they did it, and I mean, I don't know if it did well, but I just think that's so
The
cool.
girl from Wendy's with the potato was in it too. Listen,
Public service announcement for all you people listening. If somebody approaches you and says, "Hey, you want to be in a movie? I'm a director," turn around and run away. Turn around and
called-
run
And
away.
it's called Bubble. You want to be in my film called Bubble?
9 times out of 10, that's not ending good for you.
Yeah. But yeah,
Eight
I
and
think
a half.
that's cool. But yeah,
hey, want to be in a movie called Bubble?
good old movies. So we have a next topic, and I feel like this could get heated.
It probably will.
It probably will.
This
So
is
in the
sorry.
last few episodes, we have talked about. It is a dilemma. It's a moral dilemma. We've talked about different gaming consoles, and two that have come up a lot are PSPs and the Nintendo DS. And we're gonna have a quick little debate. Dan and Eric, from what I understand, are PSP losers.
I almost brought my PSP with me.
Really?
Hey, we both had PSPs, so this is
Yeah.
You guys both. Do you have DSs both? Both of you?
No.
Have DSs?
My kids had DS because DS was for kids.
It's for kids. Exactly. That's the point I was
And
going to
PSP
make.
is
Reel
for
it,
adults.
hey, reel it back
We're
in.
about to
So we got the
destroy
adult.
this.
We got the adult table. We got the kids.
Reel
table.
it back in. And me and Logan will be
Yeah.
talking about the DS. And
Oh man, this is a losing battle
so
for
yeah,
the PSP,
how,
guys.
how are we going to structure this?
Well, I think we should go first because
Yeah.
we're the older guys. here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
okay,
so
we'll
the-
let you go first because you're going to
Yeah.
have the much weaker argument.
We'll say everything that's right. You guys can say everything that's wrong.
Yeah.
And
Go
then we'll
for it.
tell you why you're wrong.
Go for it. I'm ready. All
So,
yours.
so start off with the PSP. You know, like we talked about, me and Dan talked about, it has a bigger screen. Was first off, you
Yeah.
could actually play movies. You could actually have a memory card to store movies, full movies on it.
Oh, yeah.
Tons of incredible games that were for more of the adults.
I'm
in the
sorry to
room.
interrupt, but this are we comparing the PSP to the DS that came out the same year as the PSP?
Either way, but I know there's all kinds of iterations of the DS. So
Yeah.
And there's iterations of the PSP. Like
not really a whole
There's-
lot.
Are
there
they
was-
talking
about-
PSP Vita?
There was 3 PSPs.
But that's different.
and then
That
the Vita,
PS
which sunk like two and a half years, and then they just basically was like,
Did you
okay.
guys hear that sunk?
Well,
song.
They
it
didn't do
wasn't
it
because
right.
the hardware wasn't good. It was
was
because that there was so many things that they had to compete with
Okay.
smartphones and
Okay,
things like
because
that.
Yeah,
I've had all
we're
the
talking
DSs,
DS
so-
and PSP.
Okay,
Let's hear your argument for why you think it's good.
Well, I was trying before I was so rudely interrupted.
Stand down, Logan.
So the bigger screen, the graphics were a lot better than the DS.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
seen the DS graphics that
Yeah.
weren't as crisp. You did have the two options on the DS, but really the DS basically had mostly just Nintendo games that they created for it. If you love Pokemon, that's where you go to play your Pokemon.
Well,
but
I
if
mean,
you
if
wanted
you can
adult
pronounce it.
games
Yeah.
like God of War, if you wanted
Tom Clancy.
you could also play Grand Theft Auto, Liberty City Stories, or something like that. There was all
I had
kinds
that
of
one.
other games that you could play on there. I just love the fact that you put music on it. You could put movies on it. It was versatile.
Photos.
Good.
I mean, you could put photos on there.
It's a mini PlayStation.
Yeah, basically.
Hey, sound guy, shut
And
up.
actually, you
Had a
could-
web browser.
it was backwards compatible, so you could
So did the
download
DS.
PS1 games on your PSP.
Yeah.
And it was a remote access feature. If you had a PlayStation 3, you could actually remote
That
in.
never worked.
No, it actually worked at
works.
my house.
I had the
You're the
PS4.
one that had terrible internet at your
Yeah.
house. So you had to come to the
Yeah.
church to get your DS to work.
I didn't have internet at the time, Eric.
Hey, let him finish.
You had, to
We're about to
climb,
wrap
you had to
up.
climb the telephone pole and jimmy two wires together with electrical tape.
So, I mean, I think both systems were good, but for me, I love the PSP. It was really just
Yeah.
a great portable system. The games that were available, I felt like God of War games. If you never played God of War, you missed a bunch of great games there, because the stories were just as good as like the PS3 games or the PS2 games that came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And my problem with the DS is that everybody who played a DS was like an 8-year-old kid. When I had my PSP, the only kids who played DS, the only people who took DS seriously were like 8-year-old kids, and they were all like paisley pink and purple and blue,
Yeah.
and it's like no one's going to take you seriously when you're applying for a job at the law office with your DS in your pocket. But your PSP was like sleek black.
Yeah.
I mean, people could take you serious with that.
You're saying
Yeah.
if you show up with the PSP, you get the job.
You better believe it.
So-
You have your resume on there, dude. You can say, "Hold on a second, dude. I'm gonna send that to you right now." Boom, analog stick it.
Yeah, you actually had internet access.
Yeah,
So,
PSP.
you
All right.
had a browser on your PSP.
Neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
All right, so I understand those things,
I
but
think we ran out of time.
but we need to understand the what we're really getting at, and that's gaming. And you guys have argued that the PSP has had some good games, but I think as a gaming console,
No,
first of all,
say
the
that.
DS was revolutionary, far more revolutionary than the PSP, and you have to admit that
How
because
so? Because of the two screens?
The DS had two screens, and on top
Oh,
of that,
yeah. You know, I have two eyes too, but they look in the same direction when I'm playing something.
okay,
I don't need two screens.
I don't know what.
Hey,
the,
don't interject during our side, all right?
But also, there's so many more well-made and developed games on the DS, and I think you have to admit that because
Now,
Name drop.
Sit back.
name drop. Okay, all of the Zelda games that came out for DS had like perfect scores at the time.
Those were old Nintendo games.
I've been playing.
they weren't, Eric.
I was playing Zelda in 1991
Hey, hey,
on
can
my
you let-
TV
can you
that
let
sat
us-
on the ground.
You
It
let
was
also
us-
wood
had
all around
all
it.
of these PlayStation
you guys
games,
sit
or
back for
all
a
of
second?
these.
Thank you.
That's right.
You had all the Pokemon games. You had so many games that made awesome use of the touchscreen and the thing. And you guys saying that it was just a kids console, that's just not true. I mean, sure, there are kids games on it. There are also kids games on the PSP.
How old were you when you owned your DS?
Okay, that's not fair because you guys are old. But I am the age now where I'm aware of what I would want. And I had both at the time. I had a PSP and I had a DS. And I enjoyed the DS much more and I've used it much more. Even today, I sometimes get on there, play Pokemon.
I
play,
still have the
play a
newest
Mario
DS
game.
too.
And yeah, but
Hey, can I
just
take
think it's-
can I take a bite of this for
Yeah,
a second?
go for it.
Anyway, I had a PSP first, and from my perspective and experience with PSP, I think it was a good game. I mean, we're comparing two great portable gaming
Yes,
consoles.
yes. Yeah, I agree
so,
with that.
So, as far as which one's better, obviously we have our own opinions. But the PSP to me had terrible hardware issues. For me personally, I mean, they were trying to be really revolutionary with the whole disc,
Yeah,
the whole
the-
gaming disc.
disc
That was
was
one of the cons.
That was
I think.
awful.
Yeah,
I
it
had
was.
so many games. I mean,
a disc with a portable device is just a bad
it
idea.
didn't work. I got disc
which
errors.
reflects the PSP in its entirety.
Oh.
It's just a bad idea.
Okay, well, no, here, let me finish. And if we're also going to talk about just longevity of each one, there's a reason why PSP isn't around anymore. It's because it lost its touch with it. There was nothing unique about it. It was just
It wasn't
it was
innovative.
just a bad version. Okay, no, let me finish.
analog
Let me finish.
stick?
Let me finish. Let me finish.
Woohoo! An
first
analog stick.
Hey, I
Hey,
like it.
let me finish. It was just trying to be the exact same as a PS3 but portable. And if we're talking about graphics and stuff like that, we've already mentioned that the graphics don't make the games. And a lot of times I think that the PSP would sacrifice some of its, chicness or its graphic stuff, and they couldn't deliver with the hardware that they had at the time. And then it also happened with, that's why the downfall of the PS Vita happened too. They had a ton of issues with the games, and they also, correct me if I'm wrong, they had the no game card for the PS Vita, right?
They took note from the DS and they came.
Yeah, they came out with cards for the PS.
The PS Vita was cards, right? Okay.
Yes.
But I'm still thinking that like there's a reason why the DS specifically has gone so far. As far as the games that it's been able to hold on its console, and obviously user experience had to be somewhere in that mix for it to be still alive with the same design as it's had in the beginning too. So I don't know. I liked both, and I never got. I know I'm sure internet did play a factor. If I had perfect internet, it probably would have worked better. But the PSP game thing, like we could screen share with the PS4. I had a PSP when I was older too. I had a PS4 and stuff at that time, and man, it just was not good. Like, I mean, it just didn't.
I mean, realistically, it has all these features, but how many times did you sit down and watch a full movie on your PSP?
In bed at night. I had like 3 or 4. I Am Legend I had on there.
You got to remember, this was coming out before smartphones became real big. Yeah. So when it first came out, it was actually when it came out, it was actually on the tail end of the PS2. So it was like a step between the PS2 and the PS3.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of, and I know a lot of the games, you probably just haven't experienced a lot of the games. And like, to be fair to you guys, I haven't experienced all the games that were available on the DS.
For sure.
But I would say that there were both, like you guys said, pros and cons. I agree with the disc thing. The disc thing was an issue. I remember having to hold my PSP a certain way.
Exactly.
And they got really hot. I remember mine got hot.
Really?
All
mine
the
didn't
time.
get hot, but it would, like, you'd have to hold it a certain way to get the disc to read. But I just enjoyed the longer, more games that like Madden was really cool on there. Playing basketball games. There was a lot of good games that I enjoyed on the PSP.
Yeah.
Star Wars
I
Unleashed.
just like how the DS wasn't trying to be just like this sub
An
unit
add-on.
of
Yeah,
a
exactly.
console.
That's what I was gonna say. I feel
it
like
was its own thing,
I feel
and I
like
think that was really
for the
cool.
most part, the PSP was just kind of thrown either ports of PS3. Yeah, the PSP was thrown ports of the PS3 games.
Oh, no, it wasn't.
I mean, a lot of the games were.
No, I don't think you've really played a lot of those games because
I mean,
you probably weren't old enough to play mature games.
No,
if you were able to play mature games,
we had a PSP we had a PSP when we were.
What was a port you're talking about? Like a port of a game?
Like Madden, for example. Like they didn't make Madden specifically for PSP. Like I mean, I feel like Madden was made for consoles. And they made a version for PSP, but the game was designed for
exactly. And the Nintendo, the DS had games that were specific to the DS because the whole touch pen factor, like Pokemon Ranger, was a huge game that took like you had to capture Pokemon by like doing stuff on the screen. And then when they did get portals of games like the Skate series, they made it so unique by doing the tricks with the touch pen, with the skateboard. Like they just were very unique.
So your top 5 games, how many of those include Pokemon?
of all time.
Yeah, on the DS.
Or on the DS.
Yeah.
I mean, the only Pokemon game that I think Logan too really got into was just one of them, and like that was one of the first games that came out on DS. But there were a ton of great Zelda games. We played a bunch of Mario games on there, and
the Mario series, Mario Kart for sure. Mario Kart.
See, I'd say for PSP, of course, all the God of Wars, Resistance, Sky is Burning. Have you ever played that game? That was a great game.
The Prince of Persia games were awesome.
Prince of Persia. I think that was the thing for us. I think liking the PSP a little bit better is like, I agree, like it was a lot more like a console, but that was for us. We liked it because it was on console on the go.
Yeah,
as versus
I feel that.
Like what you're saying with the DS is more different. It was
specific,
unique.
yeah.
It was. But I also think there was a lot of ports to that game.
Well, I mean, every handheld has ports.
Yeah.
Well, I mentioned, there were ports, but they developed them to accompany the touchscreen to make them different, to stand out.
Was there ever a Call of Duty?
There was.
Did Cody have it?
Obviously, you mean Corey?
Oh yeah,
Cody.
I don't know what I said. Corey.
He meant like referring to the Wii situation.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
He might have.
Yeah. One thing real fast though, like the PlayStation stuff though, you guys are saying, well, it's kind of like a PS2 or whatever, but I think a lot of people like that.
Yeah,
like if you're a PlayStation guy, that's what you like. Like when I was a PlayStation guy, that's what I like. And Nintendo, if you look at what they've done, almost every system's been completely different.
Yeah.
Nintendo, Super Nintendo. Then they had the GameCube, who's totally off the
Yeah,
wall.
But
I
that's,
love that.
and then they
that's
came out with the
console-
Wii, which was totally off the like
But that's
totally
console
different.
versus handheld. That's still that's their console.
Yeah,
realm.
but it's still Nintendo though. I mean,
Yeah.
for a company standpoint,
Yeah.
that's they want something complete. I mean, they've always said, "Oh, I'm gonna do something completely
Yeah.
different."
Yeah.
I
So-
just feel like when the DS came out, since that was Nintendo's main priority, that there was a lot more care given in the games that were put onto it.
And I think, sorry, before you go, Eric, I think, because this tails off what Ryan was saying, I agree. And I think that when they make games like God of War, you think the God of War games are so great, and they are good games. But I think that the diehard players of God of War would much rather play on a more powerful console as the PS3 than play it on a handheld.
No, I think that's you have to experience for yourself playing.
I did.
But I
Sorry.
think for me, I loved that the story was portable.
Yeah. No,
and
that
I
is
didn't
cool.
have to be attached to a console to go
Yeah,
play it.
I
I could play it in
understand
my
that.
bedroom. I could play it, and that was nice. I mean,
Long trips.
like I had a Game Boy. I skipped over
Yeah.
movie theaters like we mentioned earlier. So I was very attached to it. Plus, the big thing for me too was by having PlayStation Plus, they would always give me 2 games a month
Yeah.
free
Yeah.
for PlayStation
That is cool.
for my PSP. So I get free games on my PlayStation 3, and then
And I think that's really cool. I just think that was one of the reasons why it kind of fell apart is just because, yeah, even if you do like the mobile story, people didn't really want to buy the same game for the PSP and for the PS3 when you could like that same game factor where like you like the God of War games. Those people got that on console, and then there's
but
no
it was a
need.
completely different story.
Mm-hmm.
It was a whole
But-
different story.
But what I'm saying is when I'm comparing it to the DS,
Yeah.
the games were the DS games. There was no remodeling of it from a console or trying to bounce off what the console was doing at the time. It was just focusing on being a good handheld.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the Zelda games was a GameCube game that made it to the DS, right? The Zelda game.
I don't know.
Well, with
It
the
was created for the-
3DS, with the 3DS, they came out with a 3D version of like Ocarina of Time, but that was many years later. Back when the DS first came out, for the most part,
What was there was a DX Zelda DX?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was. I forget what it's called, but that was a game made for that was an original game. But I mean, there were ports, but I think those came later. When the DS Lite first came out, which is when the PSP came out, I think the only port that really was around was the Super Mario 64 port, which was really good. They did use the touchscreen. They made a bunch of new mini games for it. But for the most part, when people talk about really good DS games, they're games that were made on the DS for the DS, and you can't play them anywhere else.
So give me both 1 or 2 top games that were for the DS.
We're gonna have the same answer. What
Probably not. Go for it.
I remember spending the most time playing the Mario Kart 7 game when that was one of the games I played. I gotta say that one. I gotta throw out the Skate game for the DS. That game was great. Pokemon Pearl, 100%. That game alone was just what I spent most of my time on that on. Do you have any more while I'm still thinking of the last two?
So my favorite, obviously I did play Pokemon, but my favorite for the DS was Phantom Hourglass. It was a Zelda game, and that was such a good game, and how they used the touchscreen. Like, you used the touchscreen to solve puzzles, which was perfect for a Zelda game.
Pokemon Ranger was really good.
I mean, there were a lot of good Pokemon games. There also were a lot of really good Mario games on it too. I wasn't huge into Mario, but I remember playing the Mario.
What was the
Super Mario.
definitive Mario game that was on there? What was it called?
64 probably.
No, there's one that came out for it. I think it was just called Super Mario Bros. I can't remember.
Okay.
I always get those games confused.
It was
just 'cause-
Mario Thin, the 2-dimensional character. What a horrible game.
Yeah. But yeah.
So yeah, leave it in the comments section for us to let know what system did you like? Did you like a PSP or did you like a Nintendo DS? I agree, both systems are good.
Yeah.
I think
agree.
that I do tend to kind of give Nintendo a little harder time than I probably should. I mean, I love video games altogether,
Yeah.
but I do kind of feel like there's rare games that I'd really want to play
Yeah.
on Nintendo.
It's definitely an acquired taste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like Mario Kart's great, but what are they on 8 or so now?
Yeah.
But I guess I'm not really into racing games that much.
Yeah. I gotcha. No.
All right,
But-
next topic.
Yeah. that did get a little heated.
Yeah.
So leave in the comments what you think. Both are good. Both are good consoles.
No, you guys
Dan,
just hate
Dan,
the PSP.
do you still play your PSP, Dan?
Yeah, I actually do. I mean, my oldest boy kind of steals it from me a lot. And he'll play it and not charge it, and then I'll pick it up and want to play it, and it'll be dead.
Yeah.
So that happens.
We
a
forgot
lot.
to bring up the Lego games too.
But yeah.
Well, those are on PSP.
Those
Yeah.
are on PSP.
That's what I was about to bring up.
We play those a lot. We like playing those. But yeah, I actually still play mine.
Yeah, I actually still have 2 of them.
I know the
so.
PS Vita, even though it didn't do well, it had really cool hardware, had a great screen on it,
Yeah.
and a lot of people, since the games, I mean, I think the thing that happened with that was the games just kind of like stopped coming out, and like
I think
people
it just
weren't buying them.
the market dried up.
But a lot of people are taking those and like jailbreaking them and using them.
Yeah,
to
I still have mine. I love them.
Yeah.
As far as a hardware, it's
Uh-huh.
an excellent hardware.
Yeah.
But to your guys' point, the games just didn't. It was only the Sony was developing games for it.
Yeah.
It just kind of fell through.
Yeah. All right, so there we have it.
Yep.
That got heated. So now we're going to talk about the Bible like we always do. The best part. We are
you're still
going to,
watching.
if you're still watching,
Or
which
listening.
reminds me, if you're still watching,
Listening.
we're gonna listening. I don't know why I keep doing
I
that.
did that. I threw you off
I've
this
done
stuff.
so much other stuff. We're gonna leave a secret word, and if you leave it in the comments, you'll get something like a hug or something, or a
Be the
personal
first
shout out
one.
from Dan.
You got to be the first one.
Oh yeah, not a hug.
It'll be special.
Weird times. The
You can be
secret
in our
word
movie.
is ice, because that's the name of the drink that I'm currently drinking. Ice. So, first person to leave the word ice in the comments gets a prize. But yeah, we're going to talk about the Bible. We're going to be sharing. Eric called this red letters. You want to explain what that is?
Well, there was a DC Talk song back when DC Talk actually was, up and, they're famous. It's just amazing how those guys' stories have changed. Toby Mac and all the other guys. But they had a song called Red Letters, and it was kind of cool because it was, referring to like a standard Bible where you'd have the red letters be words of Jesus. So that's kind of what this idea was, to share a statement from the Gospels of something that Jesus said. So that's why we call it red letters. So do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Okay, so mine is John chapter 14, verse 6. And it says, Jesus answered, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you really know me, you know my Father as well. From now on, you do know me, do know him, and have seen him. So a couple of things with that. That's quite a bit probably. Maybe too much to take on. But the idea, of course, is that Jesus is the way. He doesn't say there's multiple ways. He's saying that he is the way, the truth, and the life. And so Jesus is making a statement. And I think about this is that the idea is that Jesus didn't leave it as a way that we could just negotiate this, right? It wasn't us that are being exclusive and saying we as Christians are wanting to say that Jesus is the only way. No, we're basing it off of what Jesus says here in Scripture that he says. So again, it's not us as Christians that say we want to be the only way, we're only right. We're kind of bound to this, that we have to say that Jesus is the only way because he said it. He said it. It's his words. And so when Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, he's making a statement that we got to kind of live by as Christians to say, this is what Jesus said, and I've got to make a choice. Is what he's saying is true? It's like C.S. Lewis talks about a lot. It's about, either Jesus is a lunatic or he's a liar or he's legitimate. And so you have to kind of base that off of what Jesus is saying. And I encourage people just to dive into Jesus. And I think the reason why I wanted to share about John a lot is I would encourage people, especially if you're a new Christian and maybe you haven't really read through the Bible, is to take a look at the Gospel of John, because there's so much good information there in the sense it really gives you a perspective of just being a follower, because John had this close connection with Jesus, one of the beloved disciples. And he was the inner circle, kind of the three of the one of the three that was in the inner circle. And so he had a close perspective of Jesus. And so as he's kind of spending time with Jesus, we can hear Jesus come out loud and clear in what he's saying here. So when Jesus makes this statement, he's saying, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. And I think we need to think about that. Yeah. The other aspect of it is towards that end of that I read, that he's saying that you've seen God. If you've seen me, you know God. So the more we look at Jesus, the more we actually see the nature of God. And so I want us to kind of, just challenge us and just maybe encourage people that are listening. Really take a close look at Jesus. I mean, there may be a lot of things that you don't understand about the Old Testament. There's a lot of things in Revelations that I still don't understand.
Not supposed to understand.
Yeah, exactly. So there may be things that you may be a little, not sure of, but just take a real. If you find yourself in a doubting situation, I'd encourage you just to take a look at Jesus. Look at what he says. Look at what he does, and then judge for yourself. Is this person crazy?
Yeah.
Is this person just a liar? Or is this legitimate? Is he really the Son of God?
Yeah.
And I think if you look at Jesus' words, you're going to find out that he is legitimate, that he is who he said he was. So I got a little fired up.
No, it's good.
Good stuff.
I thought you were going to hit me or something. Start demanding for a potato. That was good. Love to hear Eric get fired up. Good
Thank
scripture.
you. Thank you. I
Very
appreciate it.
passionate.
All right, Logan, you want to go next?
Sure. Sure. Anyway, I've been thinking about this. I kind of side with Dan on picking favorites, I guess. I mean, we weren't really supposed to pick our favorite one, but one that always comes to my mind a lot, which I really like these short things that I always keep in mind. You can always chant in your head in these kind of rough times. Pretty stereotypical story. Most people have heard it. Most Christians have heard it. It's when Jesus calms the storm. But there's just this tiny little section of red letters here of Jesus' actual words, and it says, "Why are you afraid, O you of little faith?" And just a little bit of context, they're on a boat in a storm, and everyone's freaking out. Jesus is really cool, calm, collected, and
He's a
he
chill
ends up,
guy.
Chill guy, yeah. Ends up calming the seas and kind of calling out the people on the boat, like, "Why are you afraid? I'm here." And I think that's something that I keep in my mind a lot.
Yeah.
And especially this summer, I just have a lot on my plate, and really busy with things. And that's something, like I said, it's just those little things you can chant in your mind almost. And just you catch yourself with an earthly mindset. Colossians 3 always talks about keeping your mind on things above, not on earth. And I think this is just a great thing to keep in mind throughout the week is, why are we afraid? If you think about the power, if you truly believe in the power of God, we have no reason to be afraid. We have no reason to doubt. We have no reason to get upset about things. We have no reason to lose our patience. We have such a little faith when you think about specific times when we're weak. So I really, really like that. That's just been with me all week. So.
And I think that's so true that we get caught up in the wind and the waves of life, that we get so focused on what's around us, and it's who we know.
Yep.
It's who we put our faith in. It doesn't mean the waves or the storm goes away, but it was just that acknowledgement that we know that God is with us.
Yeah.
That I can face the storm because I know He's with me.
For sure.
Exactly. So mine was from the good old Stormin on the Mount, which is a great piece of work, you could say. But mine, I decided to pick the part when he calls us the salt and light of the earth. So that is Matthew 5. I'm just going to talk about verse 13. It says, "You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot." So
I like to. What's the translation that talks about the manure pile? It's not fit for the manure pile.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I haven't heard that.
I just like that.
Probably message.
I read ESV.
It's like Jesus talking about the manure pile.
Yeah. Yeah, but I just really like the verse. I remember when I was younger, back in church, I listened to that song, Salt and Light, and I was like, what the crap does that mean? Why am I being called salt?
Yeah.
But as I learned, like,
What's that term nowadays that kids talk about video games? Like, oh, he's salty.
yeah, he's salty. Yeah, it's definitely been taken out of context, I guess. But I mean, I look at that verse and as a lot of encouragement, because God's calling us the salt of the earth, and I mean the flavor of the earth. And at the time, salt was like gold to the world. I mean, it was used for like soldiers' wages and stuff, and like, I mean, it was a big thing. And for God to compare us to salt, something that was that important and that vital to the world, I mean, as common as it is now, salt was super valuable back in the day.
Well, it's important to realize how valuable we are. To
Exactly,
God.
yeah.
God wants to use us to be that witness.
For sure.
And
yeah.
so we should provide some good flavor for people.
Exactly. Yeah.
We
yeah.
need to make things tasty.
We're out here bringing the flavor, and I just think it's so cool. And I also see a lot of God's. I also see a lot of God's love in that to like let us know that that's what we are to Him.
Yeah.
We're not just people to run around and talk about Him. We have value to Him. We're here to bring flavor to the world.
See, I think the biggest lie from Satan is that your life doesn't matter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think we all battle that.
For sure.
I think there's a lot of people that
yeah.
unfortunately feel that in their life so much and has led them down to a dark road.
Yeah.
Which breaks my heart.
It's awful, yeah.
But the fact is that God created us and He made you for a purpose and a reason to make a difference in somebody's life.
For sure.
And you can provide that salt.
Exactly.
In somebody's life.
Yeah. So that verse for me has just been encouraging for sometimes I'm really dark just because I see how God is. He's talking in this huge sermon about us and why we're important. He gives the exact reason why and like where we stand and how we can like have a purpose. So yeah. That's I don't know. That's really cool.
And again, I go back. I really like this. This is going well, and I know that Dan hasn't had a chance to share yet. But what I like about it is, again, let's look at Jesus. I mean, if you have questions about your faith, maybe you're not happy with church.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not happy with Christians out there. Don't look at us as so much as, I mean, you can look at us and hopefully see some value in us.
Mm-hmm.
But really take a look at Jesus and see what He said.
Yeah.
What did He stand for?
Exactly.
Who was He? And then base your things not on what your opinion is, but look at what He did.
Yeah.
What He said.
For sure.
Dan's going to bring it home.
Yeah. Drop the bomb, Dan.
Bring her home, Dan.
I like that. Mine's, I guess, kind of fitting, but mine's Matthew 28:20. And so, just real quickly, this is where the crucifixion, the resurrection, and the weeks have passed, and then this is where the disciples are with Jesus on the mountains of Galilee. So they're in the mountains, and they're worshiping God, they're praising God, and He's leaving them their last instructions, and He tells them to go preach and baptize them in His name. But the last scripture He says in verse 20, and this is the last thing He says to them. He says, "And remember, I am always with you until the end of time."
Yeah.
And I think so many times, growing up in church my whole entire life, we've heard that so many times. But you got to think the situation. The disciples would have been mortified during this time. This guy that they've spent these 3.5 so many years with Him, and He says, I'm leaving you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like, I guess I kind of compare that to being like the first time as a kid when I was like 13 or 14 and my dad let me run the chainsaw by myself. Because, he used to let us use it, but he'd hold it.
Yeah.
And that first time when he says, "Okay, I'm letting go," that was scary. Or the first time you drove a car by yourself.
Yeah.
He says, "I'm with you though. I'm still with you. Not just now for a little while, but to the end of time." And to me, I think that's just super, super encouraging, especially for Christians now in this day, because I think a lot of people are questioning their faith. They're questioning why is God letting this happen? Why is the world the way it is? I think it goes clear back to what I said earlier. Things happening. I kind of think there's a lot more happening in the supernatural than there's happening, the natural and stuff. So I just think, that's just super encouraging for us right now. And to kind of point out something you said, I think is important too, for people to realize that they have a purpose, but also I think it's important for people to remember, God wanted you not only to be alive, but He wanted you to be alive now.
Yeah.
He wanted every one of us to be alive now in 2020 for a reason.
Yeah.
Not 1820, 1920. He wanted us here in 2020. Yeah. So it goes even beyond that purpose. There's this. It's you could argue it forever, but it's like predestined. You know what I mean? God, at the beginning of time, He looked down through history and said, "I need you there, and I need you then. I need you there, and I need you then." But, yeah. So I just think that's just encouraging stuff.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that what you said there at the end is very important for us to realize that we're not alone. We're in a relationship with God. That God wants a relationship with us. I mean, I felt like early on in my walk that God wanted me to be friends with Him first before He started bringing friends in my life. And I've had some really great friends over the years. You guys are among those friends.
Thank you.
But
Thanks, man.
you're welcome. You made the list.
Yes.
I'm an A friend.
All right, podcast
But,
over. We made the list.
But I
Finally.
really think that God wants to be your number one friend.
Yeah.
God wants to be in fellowship with you, and as you mentioned, Jesus is not going to leave us, and He talks about not leaving us as orphans. He sends the Holy Spirit to be inside of us, and that's what separates us from a non-Christian to a Christian. Is that I'm not living by myself; I'm living for Jesus, and Jesus, Holy Spirit's living in me.
Yeah.
So
No, that's awesome. I just think it's cool that we can read directly what God spoke in the
Yes.
Bible. I mean, I feel like obviously it's such a common sense thing to say, but I mean, we're so privileged to be able to literally read what God said.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
and it's a
I feel
living
like
word.
sometimes we
It speaks to
overlook
us
that.
in the situations we're in.
I know exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely fluid.
Mm-hmm. For sure. But yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
I think we're about to wrap up. Dan, you got any last words for anyone? That sounded kind of dark.
What's a random trivia?
Just stay the course, man. I don't-
Random fact.
Random fact. Oh man, you threw
He has
me,
so many that they're
you
all
threw
just
me out
racing
there.
through his mind right
I
now.
told you a random fact earlier
Yeah.
about before we started,
Maybe
right?
One of the movies.
One of the movies. Let me think here.
Just bring up some
I'm just
random
Like,
of
I'm
the
just
Civil-
thinking. I'm just
Civil
thinking of
War.
like Abraham Lincoln or
Okay.
something right
yeah.
now.
Give me
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln.
Well, have you ever read the Lincoln Kennedy connections?
No.
How they were both elected 1860. He died in 1863 and he died in 1963. Lincoln died he was in a theater and he died across the street in a hotel, and then Kennedy died near a hotel. There's just a lot of really cool connections to that. But one of the big crazy things was Lincoln had an assistant by the name of Kennedy who warned him not to go to the
No
theater.
way.
And Kennedy had an assistant last name Lincoln and warned him not to go to Texas.
Are you serious?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh,
There's
wow.
so many ridiculous parallels between Lincoln and Kennedy.
I've
It's
seen some of
crazy.
those before.
That's really
Yeah,
neat.
but
He died with pounds of feces.
the average he died with 5 pounds of feces in his body. But that's
Abraham Lincoln?
most people.
Why do you know that?
Most people have an average of 5 pounds of feces in their body.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do
So
I right now?
yeah.
Have
All
you
of
went
us.
to the
All of us
bathroom
probably
yet? You
do.
might have more.
I don't think I pooped today.
Swimsuit models and people who do like swimsuit competition, not me, but people who do swimsuit competitions and stuff. That's one of the tricks that they actually do. They'll go 2 days before a swimsuit competition. They'll have a colonic done, where they pump basically 30 gallons of water in you and flush your whole system out, because you can lose 5 pounds just instantly. So yeah.
Well, I'll keep that in mind the next time I go to the beach.
Yeah. But most humans carry about 5 pounds of feces and they're just
Wow.
attached to your inside of your bowels and everything.
Wow.
So there you guys have it. That's just a brief look on what it's like hanging out
Maybe
with
that's
Dan.
my problem. I've been carrying about 10 pounds instead of the regular 5 pounds.
Yeah.
What good knowledge.
I mean, the more you know.
Your classroom is blessed to have you.
I
Yeah.
appreciate
This
it.
is why Dan's a teacher.
Yeah.
I don't see another job Dan could do as well as being a teacher.
No.
Your kids probably learn some crap.
I just put them They do.
Literally.
Just watch documentaries, people.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right.
All right. Right before we go, do you have a documentary you'd like to recommend?
America in Color.
Okay.
It's really good. It's old film footage it goes by 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. It's old film footage that's been in the vaults, the government control.
Uh-huh.
It's never been released before, but it's
colorized?
It's colorized
Oh,
now.
that's cool.
And they walk through the most important things through each decade.
But
And
it's in color.
just seeing some of this stuff, especially from the 30s and 40s, during the Great Depression, and there's a lot of stuff in the 60s about the Kennedy assassination.
That's
just
cool.
seeing stuff like that I've never seen before. And they have season 2 has an episode about the Wild West.
Oh, wow.
So cowboys and stuff
Wow.
in the 1800s,
No
but it's
way.
been colorized. So yeah, that's
First of it.
Yeah.
that's a great
Trying to
series.
get married to a history teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, great series.
All right. Cool. I'll have to check that out.
Thanks for coming.
So
in.
yeah,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
you so much for coming, Dan.
was
Hopefully,
fun.
you'll come back one of these days. But thank you, audience, for listening, not watching. Like I said all the time, Moral Dilemma. Talk to us in the comments. We want to hear from you. So, peace out. Have a good one.
Bye.
See y'all.
See ya.